lovely. Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, I've just been chatting away with everybody. So we've got people from Denver in Northeast Texas and talking about your podcast and a few other places. So welcome. We're thrilled to have you, and let's jump in and get started. I also mentioned I am actually in Colorado in the mountains and I'm using a hotspot, but so tell us a little bit. We'd love to hear tell us about the photo organizers and also a little bit about your podcast.
Wonderful. Well, it's been really a labor of love, this podcast. I think Chantal and I have both been photo organisers. We have our own separate business, and it really came out of a desire to reach as many people as we could that really wanted to try and have a go at this themselves, because there's only so much we could do as clients. And I think, I know as photo organisers, there's really we work on, so many jobs at a time, but there are so many people that need help out there, and they really want to try and give it a go and then realize that they probably need to get some professional help. But it really has come from a desire to just help as many people and get the word out there. And as a source, really, from the way that Chantal and I run our separate businesses, it sort of has taken a really lovely flow where Chantal comes with a lot of very technical knowledge on the digital side of organising. And I, come through my background, and my business has gone into a lot of the scanning, and also words of encouragement, really a motivational style that I come through and bring that to the podcast as well. So, yeah.
That's what, so how long have you been doing this? How long have you been a photo organizer and also doing your podcast? That's a key.
Chantal, do you want to go first and then I'll jump in?
Okay, cool. The photo organizing, I think I started in 2016. I had a home organizing business before then for a few years, but that was sort of very slow and, while the kids were little. So I started out to be really flexible. My background is originally business admin, which is something that has come in as something helpful, having a business, knowing all the business admin stuff. So I started photo organizing. I sort of fell into it in about 2016 because I had signed up with then Appo, and I was in the directory, and another local photo organizer in Melbourne approached me because she wanted to collaborate on workshops. I'm like, I've only signed up with APO because I want to manage my own photos better. I had no intention of doing it professionally. Yeah.
You hear that quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt like, oh, this is too much. There's so much to know about it. I'll never be able to know all that and learn all that. Way too much. And so just for my own personal use, I signed up until she approached me, and I said, yeah, all right, let's do it. And then she actually pulled back out because she got a really great opportunity business-wise to take over another business. But by then I had learned so much and done so many webinars and whatnot in that Appo office. I totally had fallen in love with photo organizing, and also my first client has come along, and that was it. Never looked back. Shortly after that, I closed the home organizing side of business and only did photo organizing. And Fiona and I, we knew each other already, and she had also then a bit later started her business, and we just like to collaborate, and we tossed around ideas. And we were running a few workshops and presentations together, mainly with the it's the Save Your Photos month in September. That's how I think we started collaborating a bit more. And we tossed around ideas, and all of a sudden the podcast idea was here, and we're like, yeah, you know what? There was another one around at the time, and it's unique. And we thought, that's it, let's do it. What do we have to lose? And yeah, we haven't looked back. And as Fiona said before, we really love it. And it's great to be able to help the wider community with a few tips around the whole photo management.
I love that. I love that you, why not? And we recommend that a lot to people that, or even when I started my business, just say yes, and then try and then you can figure it out, right? So
Yeah.
it's a good philosophy to have when you start a business, to be willing to learn new things, and collaboration is so critical, right? Is makes it so much more fun, and there's so much business. Nobody's competing with anybody at this point in any way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another question I'd like to ask when we do this is, what advice would you to give? So there's people listening that are thinking about starting a photo organizing business, whether in Australia, Canada, the US, anywhere. What advice would you give based on your experience that you have right now?
So I'll jump in with that one. I really would say that it's an interesting journey, having been, we've been doing the podcast about 3.5 years now, and as photo organizers, probably 5 or 6 for myself anyway. And I think for anyone starting out or thinking about it, I think there's a very natural sort of a progression that I've seen in my experience, just with new photo organizers or people thinking about the process. I think first of all, it's really a this awareness that we even exist. Is this, oh, this is a thing. And then there's sort of the next sort of stage of, oh wow, there's I can learn about this, and it's sort of a natural progression of whatever it is that they've come into, and that can bring, I think, a sense of overwhelm, because when that learning starts, there's a real knowledge of just how much is involved in this niche area and industry as a business. And I think starting out, knowing that's coming, knowing that overwhelm is coming, can be helpful to then just be aware that there's a lot of support and areas to delve into, to learn, and the photo managers is a brilliant opportunity to really not stay overwhelmed. But then once you've sort of got to that overwhelm, that there's some resources out there. It's then pushing through and really bringing your own personality and flair to a business. And that is what I love about our industry, is it really lends itself to people that are either process focused, even people that are creatives, people that are people, there's a real connection. And so I think if you're starting out and looking at this as an industry and a possible career change, or, looking at this as starting your own business, just to be aware of those natural progression, and not to be overwhelmed with the depth of information that is available, but to really find yourself in there, to really bring your authentic personality, because at the end of the day, people need help. And I think, there's no right or wrong person for this industry, which is so beautiful. And I think it's such a testament to this group of us, and Kathy, that you've brought together, really. We come from all different backgrounds and all different experiences. And so what we bring to clients is really us. And then the tools that we learn when we're thinking of starting out the business, they're available to learn. But at the heart of it, really, once you get to that level of overwhelm, learn, breathe, learn, and then find your own feet. There's not one particular type of business that you need to model yourself after. It's the skills that you need, and then you bring yourself to the role.
I agree. It's start somewhere, and to someone starting out, I would say be brave and really dare to niche down. because we're already obviously in a very specific niche, but within that, it's amazing how many other niches are in there. You know, there's so many that specialize in scanning or digital, or some do only Macs, others do only PC, some do, you know, they restore photos. So that there's so many options out there. And I agree with what Fiona said, you know, start somewhere and be brave and niche down, and all the rest will come, even in marketing terms. You know, if you've got to create a basic website and say, I'm scanning, if that's what you feel most comfortable in, that's what I would also say to someone, start where you feel most comfortable in. If you're a PC person, don't start with Mac clients, that's way too hard, but it will come over time and you'll grow into it and it will be less overwhelming. But start there and advertise that, and automatically there's always going to be other people that find you and say, oh, but do you also do scanning? Or I have a Mac, can you still help me? And over time that will grow, you know, generically, really, I think. And that's one mistake I think I made. I tried to be jack of all trades at the start because I'm interested in everything. I just can't help myself. But it's easier to have that niche and to focus on that in all. It's not just for the actual hands-on work, but also marketing wise, and, you know, all that admin that's behind having a business. It's easier when you know exactly what you're offering and what your niche is, because then you talk to those people. So
sometimes, right, it's people don't always know right away what, right, a lot of people say, well, I don't know what I like, and that's all part, I think, of the journey of being brave. I love that advice as well. You might start out thinking you're going to love scanning, and then you might get, you know, I've talked to some people who say, oh, I don't want to do any scanning, and they outsource their scanning because they like maybe making photo books, where other people say, oh, I just want to, I would scan all day and just, I love the process and the tangible holding the photos and all that. And I don't have, and I would never want to make a photo book, right? So, and over time, I think what makes it great about the community and how you all partnered up too, is that there's other people within the association that you can outsource that work to. So you,
correct,
yeah, you're not in this by yourself. It's okay if, let's see. Another question, well, I love asking this question next is I will in a minute ask how you find your clients. And if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. But another question I ask is, and I think you've kind of touched on it, but I want to ask you both two questions. One is, what do you love most about your job? And then I think it's always important to be honest that there's always parts of jobs that we don't really love. So what is it that you don't love about your job, so that people get a realistic idea of what it is that how you feel about things. So
do you want to jump in, Chantal, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you start.
So what I love about the job is I love really unlocking these memories for people. I come from a very corporate background. My experience, you know, when I came into this industry has very much been process driven. And what I've found as I've journeyed through is the privilege really that we have with these families. And it is a privilege because we're in their life and their memories. And it brings around such a personal opportunity to really release and unlock these parts of their life which have been sort of trapped in a drawer or a disc or a phone or a computer or boxes and slides and negatives. And it is a real privilege to see the journey. And I can't go without delivering clients, you know, I have my own box of tissues already, but I mean, it is such an emotional process for them. Because I think by the time they get to the point of asking for help, it's been a burden, it's been a weight on their shoulders, or a family member, you know, there's so much underlying. And I've actually moved, I'm studying at the moment, I'm doing a Bachelor of Counselling, and that has come through a need for myself to really understand the process that people go through when they're organizing their photos, and they come at it from, you know, such a range of necessity. They've got a particular, you know, event that's coming up, or it's, you know, in a memory for someone that's passed, or it really, there's always, I haven't met a client that I haven't come across that. And that's a part of my job that I love. I really do. I love being able to walk that journey with them. And so with the skill of counseling, still in photo management, I'm going to be adding that as part of my services, which is really also delving into unlocking maybe where they're stuck. And that can be a very difficult process for people.
That's fascinating. You might be the first person that I've known that. We have to talk. There's a book called Phototherapy. There's a woman who is a phototherapist. So maybe offline, I could tell you a little bit more about. She's in Vancouver, older woman. But anyway, she has I think that's fascinating that you're combining that, because we always try and tell people that you're not a therapist, but you're right. When you bring you bring the tissues and things, feelings of nostalgia, memories, losses, all of that is part of a person's family photo. It really is it's your life. It's their lives, right? And so that's just it's
often a block that they are not moving forward. Or sometimes we might find clients that, you know, they don't come pick up their photos, and it amazes me. Right. You know, you've done a job, and you know, there's hesitations along the way for a range of different reasons. And so I'm absolutely loving learning that and linking that. So yes, Kathy, we'll definitely talk offline about that more. But to answer the other part of your question, as far as what I don't love, I think sometimes it is, you know, our role is very much, you know, the fundamental productivity of getting a job done is just that. It is a process. And we would love to just click our fingers and it's done, but it just doesn't work like that. And it's very systematic, and it needs to be, to not get ourselves in a twist when they, you know, give us new photos to add into a collection, or they say, oops, forgot this whole hard drive or something like that. But there's no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. So don't love that, but I do. I'm still even though I'm an empathetic, you know, that my heart comes through my job. I'm a very process-driven person, so it's just you get in and you just follow the steps. So that is part and parcel of what we do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what can I add? I agree, obviously, with Fiona. It's just about the clients, and it is a privilege, and I always love when we deliver, when we bring it back to them, and we show them what has been achieved and how they can move forward, and just seeing the joy they get from that. And all of it, you know, you can demonstrate little things like, okay, you know, you enter that keyword and bing, there they pop up, and they're like, oh, this is awesome. That's those little moments I sort of live for. That's what I want to see and give them. And everything that Fiona already mentioned about bringing back their memories, because I also, you know, same thing, and I think we probably pretty much all the same, that it's not just photos, it's the memories. And for me, photos are a means to help connect, to stay connected, or to even make new connections with people. That's my big thing. I see the connection, and it's not about living in the past. For me, it's like it connects us to our roots. Where did we come from, even if we didn't know those people? And to give that to the clients, this is what I love doing. And also, like, from a more technical perspective, I just love I'm learning something new pretty much every day. Because there's, you know, obviously, especially in digital photo organizing, things change so fast. It's hard to keep up, I have to say, at times. But I do love that. I have that, always had a love for learning. And this really feeds into that, because I can learn something new every day. And what I don't like so much is also something that Fiona touched on. I hate it when, you know, you go through the assessments, you gather all the photos with the clients, you explain everything, and you're almost done decluttering or deduplicating and organizing, and then they call you, oh, I found another phone or a hard drive or something, and you're like, no. I hate that part because it makes it so much harder. I mean, over the years, I've learned to communicate and to actually explain them that this gathering process is really, really, really important, and that it's going to cost them more if they find more stuff later on. And that's the trick pretty much most of the time, but it still happens, and it's just human, can't change it. It will keep happening from time to time, but I find that frustrating. And I just also, one of my things is I can't help myself, you know, and usually over deliver. Yeah, but
Yeah, I think that, yeah, over deliver. I think by nature of the people that are drawn to the field, right? One thing we at the photo managers too, we're working really hard on because of the years of experience that people like Fiona and Chantal and others have now bring is really teaching process. We've hired actually a professional process person who's been taking every month. She's Tuesday she did it was all about how to set up your processes and how to use a project management system, and all of this becomes part of it. Like, so somebody, Maha, I think it is, hope I said your name right, asked, how do you handle having to add photos and hard drives that were forgotten? I'll let you all answer, but I think Chantal, you already kind of said, yeah, you have to requote, and that should be ideally built into your contract ahead of time, that you because you ideally letting people know that if that happens, this is what the cost will be, right? Because it most likely will happen. Is that how you handle it?
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's all about communication, really. And, you know, more often than not, I have to say, clients are very understanding. And sometimes I try to not get into too much technical details with them because it's very overwhelming. I work a lot with images, so I have drawings basically in PowerPoint, or where I show them, okay, this is your phone, the photo is sent to the cloud, it comes down here. So I personalize that and I give them that so that they've got basically one sheet. This is my setup, that's how the backup goes. So I explain it as simply as I can, which is hard because it is a complex topic, but I'm always aiming to take the overwhelm away. And it's all about communication from you know, zero to till you're done, and just talk to people. It's something I tell my kids all the time, talk to people. You know, most people understand when you explain.
I think that froze.
You know, if you bring that box, and it's the same with physical. Look behind me. This is like,
yeah, I was gonna say, is that a project behind you? Yeah, that you're working on?
that I'm about to, you know, wrapping it up. And this was one of the frustrations. She gave me about 4,000 photos to scan and to manage. And then later on, turns out she's got she's got almost 30 albums that she wants done too. And she hadn't mentioned that. It's like, so 30 there, you know, you go, you explain to them and say, okay, you know what, I found photos that you have already given me, or they belong to a batch that we've already done. So that is more time consuming to merge it all and to clean that all up. So it will cost more. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine in most cases, but it's just, you know, talk to people.
Yeah, communication and using, I think people use, like, whether do you do that through text? Some members will text message, some people, you know, talk with the client ahead of time. How do you want to be contacted? And then use that, you know, whether it's text messaging or email, right, or a phone call, where you're giving them updates on where you are in the project. And another thing I always notice too, and I tell us if this is true, a lot of people, unless it's for a special, you know, a birthday celebration, an anniversary celebration, a gift, a lot of people aren't, the time part of it is not always, not a significant time crunch sometime, right? They've been sitting, languishing in boxes and drawers for 20 years and they finally give it to you. Usually there's some window of time, right? Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do with the scanning and things like that too. I think it's, again, with the communication, it's really around setting those expectations and being aware of what, I've got on my plate, and what's a realistic time frame, and just knowing that I've got other work coming in. I like to be very specific about the blocks of time that I allocate for a client. And then if they do give me more things after that, I'll just be realistic in, when that can be done, knowing that the timeframes, but it is always about communication. And I try to, as soon as I've got the materials, if I'm doing scanning, they've gone through a process to get to that decision point. So I think that it's important to respect their point of that decision as well, and really just get it done as quickly as I can. Even though I totally agree with you, Kathy, it is, for them, that they may not have time frames that have an urgency to them, but I think it's always, that the making a decision has come from a place, and so it's really great to be able to be realistic with those expectations on time frame. When we do get new things come in, yes, with what Maha was saying, I do requote. It's either an hourly base if I'm doing organising, or a per unit piece if I'm doing scanning. So I just, communicate, and that's always in an email format. Personally, I do that. And then my day-to-day communication, I like to be a bit more informal, and I do texts as a quick update, or, found this photo and things like that. And then always structured formal processing through emails as well. Just confirming what we've spoken about in a formal process in an email.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Okay, and people, again, anybody have any other questions, go ahead. And two last questions I want to ask before we wrap ourselves up to what skills. I think one thing that people don't realize is that you probably brought a lot of skills with you from your past work experience, managing family and kids if you have a household and things. And I think it's helpful for people to realize that maybe they have skills that they don't know they already have, and that you might be drawing on and things. Did you find, each of you, were you surprised, or different skills from your past work experiences that you were able to kind of meld into into what you're doing today?
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, I've got a business admin background and worked in corporate for 20 years, mainly as a personal assistant and financial controller, which is obviously hugely helpful when you run your own business, regardless of what the business is, but to understand, the figures, to be able to, especially when I started out. These days I have outsourced a few of the admin things, but knowing about the marketing and having all that background, that was enormously helpful. And I was always an organized person, so yeah, organizing sort of came more or less naturally to me. Yeah.
Okay, good. We have some questions. Go ahead, Fiona, how about you?
Yeah, so some of the skills I brought, I'd also been in a corporate background, so my sort of life BC, I call it, before children, which was in a corporate setting. I was an expat manager with Goldman Sachs in New York and London, and traveled a lot in Japan. And so I think just being resourceful is a skill, and all of my other sort of skills that you just pick up along the way. I think I'm still always had been an organized person. I love the creative side, so the photography, Photoshop, being able to produce, a creative, outlet. It was definitely a skill that I could also bring in, to not, realizing as an industry, what we need as skills for this, but that one's really come in handy. Process driven, and then the ability to be empathetic, to relate to people, because at the end of the day, even though we're tangibly doing a process, that relatability, I think, is really important too.
Yeah. So Faith wanted to know, is your business steady throughout the year, or is there a certain time of year where you're busier than others?
For me, I'm more steady. Yeah, just steady throughout the year. I find pretty consistent. What about you, Chantal?
Yeah, these days, yes. So I'm completely booked out. I've got a wait list. But you know, this is something also for someone who starts out. This is not how it is for most people when starting out. It takes time, patience, to build a business. And from, you know, being in the organizing industry overall for like 10 years almost, I've seen only very few people who started out and their business went through the roof, like from day one. That doesn't usually happen. It takes work, investment, you know, it not so much financially, but in time, and you know, go out, do public speaking, build networks, find who can I collaborate with. It's all time consuming, and the industry tends to attract women who oftentimes have a young family, so they plan to work part-time, or maybe they've got a paid job and want to build the business on the side. So that's not going to happen overnight. Just being aware of that, I think, is also important. Yeah, because it takes time.
And then Erin asked, do you try to coach clients in how to DIY manage their own photos in the future once the projects are considered complete? We're always adding so many more every year. Photos, I think Erin means, right? Yeah, I'm assuming that's what you mean.
Yeah, Erin, I think definitely the DIY. That's where I think the podcast is really helpful for how we we manage that from a DIY perspective. But clients on our own, there's lots of different ways to help them manage ongoing. And I think there's not really a one size fits all. I think we have maintenance. Chantal has maintenance plans as well. That, you know, because we're never really done, are we? We're always going to be continuing to take photos. So it depends on the sort of the structure of how you offer the services as to an ongoing maintenance plan. I think the coaching, I'm really big into the coaching. It's part of my love of the business is really helping people learn the skills to do it themselves. And often I'll find once they're out of the mess and it is in an organized state, I'll do a certain amount of hours of coaching and then just continue to offer that as they need that, if they're then managing the ongoing merging of new photos into their hub and back up themselves.
As Fiona said, I do have maintenance in my services, and usually it's not clients who come in as maintenance clients. It's usually bigger clients where, you know, when we finalize, I teach them how to move on, and I also say to them, look, if you like me to come in to do the maintenance on a monthly, quarterly basis, even just once a year, whatever. So for them, I've got those packages, which is, of course, as a business interesting, because that gives you sort of a more, you can plan your income if you've got that. And I always say to them, look, it's like a cleaner who comes in and cleans your house regularly. If you find it all too hard, I'm here for you. I'm happy to do that. And I am. And something you just mentioned, Fiona, but now it escaped me. With the maintenance, it's also, about following up, even if they don't want you for maintenance and it's sort of finalized, you know, sending an email even 6 months later or even a year down the track. And that comes down to have good processes in your business, to have those reminders, follow up with so-and-so and ask how it's been going. And you wouldn't believe how often it happens where they say, oh, you know what, I haven't done a thing since last time. Can you come in again? And there you go. You've landed yourself another jobs. And this is much easier in terms of marketing to actually sell to the people who are already on your list and are already your clients, because oftentimes it grows from there. And I've got clients, and that's also something I love about our work. Some clients, you work with them for years.
Yeah.
You know them so well. It's just so, yeah, it's very rewarding.
Good question. One is, thanks, Fiona, for dropping those quick. Somebody asked if they can connect with you on LinkedIn and Facebook to connect. So Fiona, good. Thank you for, I hope I put the right podcast link. I think I was logged into my Spotify, but hopefully that your podcast as well, your Facebook. Erin, yes. So, but you also offer me. So Erin asked a question. Thank you. Forgive me for sounding crass. I don't think that's a crass question at all. I think that's actually the real question. Anybody who's thinking about starting a business is, can you actually make money at this? And I will let both Fiona and Chantal answer as well. But as the founder of the Photo Managers, who manages, we have 700 members all over the world. The answer is in 12 years. So we're not, I always joke we're a 12-year overnight success. Absolutely. We have members with significant businesses, with employees and all sorts of things. It's taken time, but it does. Some people work at part-time, other people work full-time. And so the question is, what parts are served free and which parts can you reasonably charge a fair for? So I will let you both answer that question, but I also want to just throw that in as well.
So I'll jump in. The first thing I would say is, this is a business at the end of the day. And so, while I love what I do, I am doing it for an income. And so it's very serious. It's a business like any other business that you would have. So I think that I can understand, Erin, where that question comes from, because often if we're just out and about, I talk about my business every day. It's because I live and breathe it. It's what I do, and everyone has photos. So, everyone is in a situation where I guess there's an opportunity to talk about what we do. And so if that's sort of that free information, it's just sort of general conversation, and they're like, oh, I've got this phone. How do I do that? So I always give as much information as is appropriate at that time. If I'm in a social gathering, or if I've just bumped into someone that I haven't seen for some time, I might just quickly answer a question. Of course I would always do that, but as soon as there's a need that they want my expertise and help for, I have no problem in setting up an initial half-hour conversation to really give them an overview of what's available for them. And then I charge, and I make that really clear. And it's just what we do. It's a business, and so from that moment, it's a really clear, relaxed, easy opportunity for them to either engage me or not, and they can have a go at them for themselves. And I always point them to the podcast. There's always something in there now after 3.5 years of episodes every 2 weeks. There's a lot of good stuff in there that people can have a go at trying it themselves. And then they've got my business card and my details to contact me straight away after that. So I really do. I'm more than happy to answer, some questions from people when they're thinking about, I don't know what I've got. And then straight up, I just let them know how I work, and when they're ready and if they need it, it's really clear. So as a business, not a crass question at all. I think it's a really good question. And, definitely I've got more work than I've got a wait list as well. So I really, there's a lot of work out there. People need our services. And I think, with the photo managers, there's always opportunities to learn on how to do this, how to get the confidence to ask for money, or how to go through that process with clients. There's a lot of supports and resources out there, but it's a lucrative business.
It is. I agree. And I do this, I'll keep it short. I'll do the same as Fiona. I've, a while back, I started to offer a 30-minute free discovery call. And I have to say that works really well. And that's what they get for free, plus the podcast, plus I have a blog that I've sort of reactivated, and I post once a month, and that brings in a lot of traffic to the website, plus the podcast. So that really is it. And yes, it is possible to make a good income from photo organizing. It takes time, as Cassie said before. It's not going to happen overnight.
No, I was trying to tell, it's not a get rich overnight business, but it's a legitimate business which, like you're saying, when you start working with clients long term, and we just had our 10th annual educational conference back in person in Denver last week, and we have people that have been there for 10 years, that have been coming for 10 years, and then people that are just starting out, and the message is, without question, that some of those people are still working with the same clients after 7 or 8 years, that because people keep taking photos and things. And so, there's no question. So thanks, Erin. That was a great question to ask. So last of all, as we tie up, we've mentioned the photo managers quite a bit. I think I put a link in there. So we are, we're more like a trade association in some ways. We used to call ourselves the Association of Personal Photo Organizers. We rebranded to the photo managers because it's really more than just organizing. I think we wanted people to understand that photo management is because we knew the work was getting more complex. But we support small business owners with lots of training and our conference, an amazing Facebook group. You have a group that in Australia, right? I think you do a monthly Zoom meeting together. So why don't you talk just a little bit about how we've helped support you over the years? And again, any other questions we'll answer, and then we can, you all can get on with your day and we'll start our evening.
So one of the things, I did jot down a few things from, what I've got through the photo managers, because there's really nothing else like it in our industry. There is no other resource that we can call on in our industry. And so, I'm very grateful that the photo managers exist to be able to do that. So really, I've gained a lot of friendships out of the industry. They're a resource of support, which is so unique. I think, there's never a question of we're competitors. We are collaborators together to help support our own individual businesses, and that is exactly what we do, which is just such a rich resource for that. I kind of call this my tribe. It's my like-minded people in the ability to talk techie talk on a Facebook group, ask a question and get really quick answers, which is so valuable when you're moving through a job and you get stuck on something, to ask those questions. Even I do camera scanning, and there's a lot of courses and opportunities out there through through the people that support in our groups, in the Facebook groups. It's just like, can't get this setting right, what would you do? And that feedback is invaluable, really, really good. And it's just really a worldwide access to people, I think, to really learn and grow individually. And the teaching, and I think it's the ongoing learning. That's what I love about what you're doing, Kathy, because there's always, it's not just like, here it is, there's always something new coming through. There's always new, and I think what Kate brings to the team in that structure of just knowing what's coming up, knowing where we can get resources and continue learning. So it's always fresh, and that is it's nice when you're in this business to not feel you're isolated.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, what do I say? Ditto. Yes, it's just that whole tribe, that community feel. And when I started originally, generally in like home professional organizing, it was like, oh, I wonder, we're all competitors, but right from there, and photo managers is the same. It's mostly collaboration. It's, we're open, we're friendly with each other, we share openly. It's not like we're giving away all our secrets, but but it feels great, and you give us that platform, and I really appreciate that. And especially for us, something Fiona touched on with the Facebook group, especially for us Australians, because of the time difference. And in Australia, we're so few photo managers. So, we're a very small group. So to reach out and post something in the Facebook group when we go to bed, and next morning, because the answers come mostly from the States, it's all there for us. We can, tap the other brains, and people share openly. And it's been a lifesaver for me so many times. And as Fiona said, to talk techie with people who know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And the idea that we're constantly working on improving as an organization how we can support our members, right? We're always paying attention, like adding this year-long training about processes, and we just realized that was important. We've added in November, we do a profitability live, we call it, workshop, where we talk about how much do you charge, profitability numbers, all the things that how do you charge the right amount? And I think every day I'm thinking about how can we continue to support our members? We know we have, like for our virtual conference, which is next week, I know we're trying to change some of the times for the networking because we know our Australian members want to network with people, and we want to make sure. I think we added a morning, I think it's Saturday morning, because then we know it's a better for your time. So we're definitely constantly trying to bridge those time zone gaps and things. So
yeah, that's great. And I noticed with the member huddles in the States, usually we can't, it's in middle of the night for us, but we really appreciate that you've changed some of the time so that we can participate as well and get to know the American colleagues. And it's been so great. It's really extremely helpful, I find. And as you said, that constant learning, every time I learn new stuff. And
yeah, you have to be I realize that you have to be a lifelong learner. I think we do like a little quiz, like, how do you know if this is the right career for you? And when we came up with that, I think one of the questions I put in right away, do you like to learn new things? Because that's really critical. If you're willing to,
absolutely.
and you're willing to know that it takes time to learn, right? And sometimes it's hard to want to learn these things like camera scanning, right? I mean, I'm sure that you have to take a deep breath and decide, okay, I can see your setup back there. I can learn this, and you can't. And that's why people want to hire us, because they don't want to take the time to learn this. I mean, especially, it was a lot easier. I always joke, it was much easier when we took a roll of 24 photos down to our local pharmacy and dropped them off and, pick them up an hour later and put them in a photo album. But that is not how we interact with our photos and videos and all the precious memories today. So okay, before we end, so Aaron, you asked quite a bit of questions there. So recommended for training. I don't know if you're a member of the Photo Managers or not. We'd love to welcome you. You're welcome to send an email to support@thephotomanagers.com, and I'd be happy to set up a call and maybe talk to you a little bit more about that, or you can reach out to Fiona and Chantal about learning and having the best scans and all those things. Is part of the Photo Managers, we have tremendous amount of training on all those topics, including a new course that we just put in place that probably, Fiona, you don't know about it, or you could go through it, but it's a 12-week course about how to set up a business from A to Z. I mean, it's wonderful. And it's based on all the years of what we know people needed and things, and that's included in membership and things. So hopefully that'll answer your questions. And we do have a certification program where you get certified and then you're listed on the website. So there's quite a bit of resources there. I see 4 new messages. So great. People are saying thank you. And where can I get more information? So let me quick pop the link to the website on here, to the Photo Managers website. And then also you're welcome. I think there's probably a place there to also reach out. Next week is just a little plug-in for that. Next week is our virtual conference, which is, so it's a repeat of all our speakers agreed to speak virtually as well, to repeat the conference. So it's a brand new conference in a way. But we just did it in Denver because we learned with COVID that we could do virtual conferences. We didn't know 2 years ago. So what we did unique this year, though, is because based on feedback from members, I went to Denver, and it's expensive. It's $399, I think, to do the whole conference, and not everybody wants to do everything. So we realized, like, kind of a bring a friend or tip your, toe in the water. So for $49, you can pick one breakout. We have almost 20 breakouts to choose from. So you can look at that list, everything from how do you set up a contract to mindset issues, marketing, using Instagram, working with clients. And then you get to attend our keynote speakers who are wonderful, Sky Bergman and fellow from the Netherlands as part of it. And you get to attend the networking where you get to meet other people. So that's something unique that we added just recently. So if for those of you listening, if you go to the Photo Managers Go to Conference, you can see that opportunity. And I also put a link there to the Photo Managers website. Of course, tune into Fiona and Chantal's podcast is really wonderful, and follow them on social media and things, and follow the Photo Managers as well. So this has been wonderful. Thank you. Hopefully that's answered everybody's questions, and we really look forward to spreading the word and helping people. And Fiona, I'm so intrigued by what you're doing with that degrree. So we'll definitely.
Thank you. Me too. We'll talk again. I know. I can't see I can't wait to see where it takes me.
If I could go back in time, I would. I think that's a really fascinating. I think it's a really needed niche, and I never thought of. It's just interesting. So that's what we mean. We keep learning. Like here I am. I learned something new for Fiona, and what's wonderful as Fiona goes through that process, right? You're going to learn that, and then you'll probably be happy to tell others all over the world that might want to do a similar process. And how do you combine them, and how do you talk about that? So that's just a perfect example. So
Yeah.
And Corrine says, thank you so much. And they love your podcast. Corrine Field said, love your podcast. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
all right, everybody, have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.